This is the EV9. It's Kia's flagship electric SUV. It costs from £65,000. That's not a typo, £65,000 for a Kia. It's a 6 or 7 seater all electric behemoth. And later on in this video, I'm going to take you for a full walk around, show you the cool tech in it, take it for a drive and find out if it could ever possibly be worth the money. Let's go. Here it is then, we're going for a one-take walk around of the Kia EV9. If you're sitting there at home thinking that looks massive, it's because it is. It's 5 meters long, making it a rival for the Land Rover Discovery and the Audi Q7. But unlike those, this is electric only. It's going to cost from £65,000 for an entry-level version, and it's going to go up to about £75,000 for a top-spec GT Line S. As you might expect, it's got a massive battery. 100 kilowatt hour battery, and that's going to be good for 350 miles on paper in the entry-level single motor 200 horsepower version, or more like 320 miles in this dual motor, which has got just under 380 horsepower. But let's talk about the looks, because it looks just like the concept car that Kia unveiled back in 2021. There's no fine detailing on it. It's all smooth. Look at that bonnet. There's no creases, no folds. You've got LED lights on every model, and because this is a top spec one, it's got adaptive cube LEDs that can block out oncoming cars and things like that. It looks like nothing else on the road, and if you look down the side, you've got big 20 and 21 inch wheels on top spec models, 19s on the entry level, and you've got this kind of scoop out the side of it. It's all very dramatic, it's all very filthy. Been driving this around the Scottish Highlands all day. I'm gonna have to step so far back to get it all in. Yeah, look at that, around the back. Kind of looks a bit Volvo-y to my eyes. Now around the back, there's some interesting stuff going on. You can get it fitted with a tow bar. And if you get the entry-level 200 horsepower version, it can tow 900 kilos. It goes up to 2.5 tons on this dual motor version, which is a lot really. Now, if I can open the boot, I can show you that even with 6 seats in place in this version, you've got a 330 litre boot, which as you can see is more than enough for my holdall of stuff. But if you flip these rear 2 seats down electrically using these handy buttons here, look at them go down there, you've then got just over 820 litres of space. So you've got a ginormous boot in the EV9, plenty of room for going to the tip and all sorts of shenanigans. Now while we're here, if I brighten it up a little bit for you, you can see that these rear seat passengers aren't third-rate citizens. They've got electric controls for their seat backs, a USB-C, cup holders, and I actually fit back there. I'm 6'3", and I can sit in the middle seats and then sit behind myself in these third row of seats. But anyway, let's check those out. Being a top spec version, you can spec this with 6 seats, which just gives you 2 in the middle row. All the other versions get 7 seats, so you get 3 seats here in the middle. Now, as a bit of a party trick, I'm gonna have to stick some footage in to show you this because I can't do it with one hand. You can actually swivel this seat round, so you can get a child seat in and then swivel it back round, or put an elderly person in, something like that. They're really flexible seats. They're also heated as well in this top spec one. Really well thought out cabin, a nice flat floor as well. So access is easy peasy, and they're just super comfy as well. I've been doing a lot of miles today in this car, and I have to say, by and large, it is pretty comfy. There we go. That's the heated and cooled middle seat controls. Now, let's check out the front, where there's even more technology and space. Look, you've got a big space there for storing stuff. You've got another one under there, but it's all about the twin infotainment screens, really. You've got big 12-inch displays here, one for the driver there, and one here. And this has got wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which is a first for a Kia. Another first, you've got this dinky little screen in the middle, which you can use for all your kind of climate control needs, but it is a bit hidden by the steering wheel. When you're driving it, it kind of gets hidden like that. Another thing that gets in your way, which we'll talk about in a second, is this big, thick B pillar here. We also need to talk about these headrests. They're made from recycled material. They're really squishy. They're some of the comfiest I've ever used, and it just puts you in a really relaxed mood when you're driving this car. You've also, on this GT Line S version, got a very powerful 14-speaker Meridian sound system with an external amp and subwoofer as well. Now, while the touchscreen does control a lot of the car's functions, you do have kind of physical shortcut buttons here to a few different bits and pieces. And they actually vibrate when you touch them, so you have got some haptic feedback there to press them when you're driving. You kind of know what you're doing. And you've also got physical temperature controls here as well. So you aren't blindly having to look down here and faffing while driving. You've also got a load of USB ports down there as well. You've also got a 3-pin plug in the boot as well. So as a family car for camping and things like that, let's pretend I'm not eating a Snickers, it is really quite good. Big cup holders here, and you've got a nice large wireless charging mat here as well. And that actually charges your phone much quicker than they normally do. Right, that was a very quick walk around of the Kia EV9's exterior, interior and features. Let's take it for a drive and see what a 2.7 tonne Kia feels like on bumpy Scottish roads. Let's go. Right, I know I said this video is going to be one take, but I've had to come some country roads to do the driving bit. So what does the EV9 drive like? Well, I've got the dual motor version with 378 horsepower. And I'll do 0 to 60 in 5.3 seconds, which isn't really relevant in a 7-seat family SUV, but yeah, it is very fast. I would say you probably only really need the 200 horsepower single motor because that gets you to 350 miles of range on paper. This one will only get about 320, and in a real world conditions, on a cold day like today, I'm actually only getting 250 miles. That's how much range you can lose when it's cold. But yes, there are some negatives to the way the EV9 drives. First of all, you've got a massive blind spot here, the B pillar. Every time you turn around to check your shoulder, you're greeted with a big sheet of metal, which isn't ideal. Second negative, the ride. It's okay, but around town it gets a bit bumpy and it just makes a lot of noise in the cabin when you go over those kind of shell grip, high grip bits of road. It's not as good as it should be, really, but it does weigh 2.7 tons if you've got the dual motor version. So yeah, by and large it's okay. It's relaxing, and at 70 miles an hour you don't get a lot of wind noise from the door mirrors or a lot of tyre roar from those huge wheels. You do get sat-nav lady interrupting though, which is always useful. So by and large, it's a fine cruiser. I can get nice and comfy in these big seats with these really squishy headrests. I've got cooled seats, I've got massage seats in this top spec GT Line S model. And yeah, it's a lovely place for whiling away the miles. And if you want to, do some overtakes because it's quick as well. Although it will now beep at me to say I'm going too fast. Wait for it. Oh no, it's not going to do it. Yeah, like most modern cars, the EV9 has got speed limit warnings which reset every time you turn the car off and on. So even if you turn it off, it comes back to bong at you if you so much as go 1 mile an hour over the speed limit. There are some nice other quality of life features about the EV9. When you do the windscreen wash like that, it pops up to say, oh, we've turned the air vents off so you don't get the smell of all that screen wash in the cabin. And I know other cars do that, but this actually tells you about it, and it kind of makes you feel, yeah, pretty good about yourself. I should also point out another boring thing about this car. The phone charger charges really quite quickly. It's impressive. Right, the sun has set on my time with the Kia EV9 here in beautiful, bright Scotland. So what do I think of it? Well, I think it looks rather spiffing, especially dumped in front of someone's old house. I think it looks like a very modern concept car that kind of screams, I'm doing things a bit differently. And I do like that Kia's done that. It's also got a massive battery. It's got decent range of over 300 miles when it's not snowing, like today. There are some negatives though. The ride around town over some surfaces can be a bit hard and a bit firm and a bit uncomfortable. By and large, it's okay, and it certainly gives you confidence to drive quickly on country roads, but just be aware it's not as luxurious as a Range Rover. It's fast as well. I love the cabin. It's got loads of practicality for the family. I like that you're getting a 6 and a 7-seat option, so if you want some fancier airline style middle seats, you can have them. It's got all the technology you need as well. So I think Kia's done a good job. And although £72,000 would normally be a very, very big sum of money for a Kia, this actually kind of feels like good value. I don't know how they've done it, but they have. If you've enjoyed this video, please subscribe to the Motorpoint YouTube channel. We've got plenty more new and used car videos coming very soon. Go down to the comments and tell us whether you would have one if you had £70,000. I think I would. Or a Porsche.